everybody.
Yeah, Dr. Nick. Excellent. Hi, good evening. How are we?
Thought it'd be something different.
I can see we've got a few people that are here already. Don't forget to hit the little like or the love or tap the screen or whatever it is. I don't know. Whatever thing you're watching it on. I hope, can everybody kind of see it? Does this look level? That camera was doing my head in a little bit, like it had gone a bit wonky.
And we've been busy all day, like crazy busy. I've literally just sat down.
You need to stick a sticker back up that says "Look here."
Yeah, because I don't know
Penny's
where to look.
forget the camera's there. All this bit here is just for me looking at. Whoa, the comments are all flying in.
That's not going to stay there.
Good evening,
Sorry.
Marion's here. I've spoken to Marion already by text message. She's
Hi, Marion.
camping at a show.
Hi, lovely Chloe.
Good evening, Denise Brown's here. Chloe's here. Good evening, and Jessica's here. And
Hi, Jess. And Noah.
Good
Happy
evening,
birthday, Noah, for the other day.
And Danny's just arrived as well.
Hey, Danny.
I saw our top fans just arrived.
Busy, busy, busy.
I did have a look the other day on our Facebook page. It's loads, all these top fan bits.
I know.
It's quite good.
It's very exciting.
Excellent.
You'll have to excuse me. My little sticker don't want to stay on now. That's going to aggravate me because I won't know where to look.
You just got to look there where the little white light is.
Step into the light, Carolyn.
So how are we all? Let's start with an apology. We're sorry about last Sunday.
Yes.
It had been a very hectic week, and Penny was unwell. We had to get antibiotics and all kinds of stuff.
You had to go to the hospital to pick up antibiotics on Sunday.
And I had to change stuff around, and then I ended up having to work Saturday, and just a pain. So it got all kind of caught up with us, and we just sort of needed a bit of us time. So I'm sure you guys understood, and thank you to the two people that messaged and said, I hope you guys are all right. I don't mean that. There was quite a few people. So
that was awful. There was quite a lot of people that sent us lovely messages. I've just realised how ragged I look. I'm so sorry. I've been non-stop today. He's a keeper.
Right, who else we got? Hey, our good friend Mickey's just
Mickey.
arrived. And your mate Jammin' Jay. But it's not Jammin' Jay.
Jerry.
So yeah, let us know what kind of week you've had. In this tonight's show, we're going to talk to you about some of the background to fairy tales.
Yep.
And I'm going to talk to you about a pineal gland. And for my final thought, so stick around at the end, I have a final thought as a what if, and it is to do with maggots. So this is kind of one of the rabbit holes of where my brain went the other day, and I thought, holy crap. So I'll share that one with you later, so stick around for that. We had I was going to say a psychic party. It wasn't a psychic party, it was a tarot party last night, didn't we?
Psychic night.
Psychic night, that was it. So thank you to
those. It wasn't last night, that was Friday night.
Was it? Yeah, it was Friday night. Oh, you see what I mean? All the days are rolling into one.
Yeah, indeedy. We did, and it was brilliant. And I, as per usual, was absolutely rubbish at keeping to time. And we ended up going over quite spectacularly.
Oh, no.
But lovely Alex was a brilliant host. Kept us chatting at the end, or we kept him chatting, one or the other. But it was really great. Few weird things happened with my cards, though, that have not happened before. So I drew a load of cards, and they just were really bizarre and didn't really make any sense. And I said, I'm not sure these cards are for you, which it happens in an environment where there's lots and lots of people. So I literally stuck the cards back in random places, gave them a good shuffle.
Yes,
gave
Chloe's
them.
Fault. She thinks she broke them.
I think you did. Gave them to your lovely lady to shuffle as well, and then redrew them. Exactly the same cards came out. I don't know what the probability of that was, but as we worked out, it must have been the cards that were meant. So even though we'd put them back in and given them 2 lots of shuffle, they came back out exactly the same. So that was one weird thing that happened. Another was the first, I don't know how many, 50, I drew a lot of cards, something like 12 or 15 cards were all reversed. And it was quite strange. And it was a different draw to the way I'd been doing it up until then. I don't know why I drew them that way. And the next one I turned over was the death card. And it clearly meant change. And it was, okay, well, I know what this means now. It is about holding yourself back, about not looking forward, not planning ahead, being stuck in the same environment and not really doing anything to progress. And once we work that out, the cards are all fine again.
Excellent.
It's very odd.
There was something spooky happened right at the very beginning of the night to Chloe. She says potentially a ghost or something knocked her hand with the cup. Or
It's like
she's
that.
just bloody clumsy and she spilled her tea all over herself.
I sensed it was the spirits, but they might have been spirits that were imbibed before she got there.
Yeah, so she said to Alex about checking the CCTV and he was looking at her thinking, you're just clumsy.
Yeah.
Although he didn't actually say that. What he said was, we do have stuff around the cafe that does actually move and
they do have some activity there.
Yeah, they do think there is something there.
I love the way you say calf. It's a coffee shop.
Oh, it's a calf.
It's just a greasy spoon.
Do you know why? Do you know why it's stuck in my head as a calf? Because the coffee machine is only this big. That's the coffee shop is like a big one of them big stainless steel things, and they always have to the little little steam thing. It always sticks out when we get this shot in camera. And they always go like that, like they're just finishing off the coffee machine.
This is not what you tuned in for.
You asked Mickey, will know what I'm talking about. The way bistro people
just
play
move
with their
on now.
Coffee machines.
Just move on. Good grief.
So yeah, what do you reckon to the weather? It's been nice weather.
It's been warm, but I work in a really old school and it's bloody freezing in the classrooms.
Oh no, I was all right, man.
And then you step outside and you go, whew, it's like a heat wave. Yeah, so that's been a bit weird. But we did some gardening this afternoon. Caught up on a bit of gardening.
Mowed the lawn, broke the strimmer.
Did some ironing. A bit of sewing. Darning socks like a little old lady.
Right.
Right.
Should we get into it?
I think we should just get on with it. People are here for important stuff.
Hang on. Here we go. See Mickey cleaning the pipe. Exactly. Right, let's have a quick check-in and see who's there. Leah's showing us some love on Facebook and Chloe and Marion. I'm going to guess that that's Mickey watching us on YouTube.
I'm going to guess he is literally the only one.
If you are watching us on Facebook, quickly pop over onto YouTube and just hit the subscribe button. Right, let's get into it.
Okay.
Who are we going with first?
So,
I'll tell you about the pineal gland in a bit. We'll do some of yours, then we'll come to mine.
Okay.
And then don't forget, we're finishing with my maggot
This was
story.
something that absolutely, I could have spent days working on this. Oh, don't know then. I could have spent days on fairy tales.
Yeah.
Absolutely ages. It's become a bit of a fascination now. So last time we were saying about Peter Pan. What if we all are approaching the story from the wrong angle and that Peter Pan isn't the sad little boy and oh dear, how awful. Other options being that he's mentally unstable from his childhood abduction and then took to stealing children, and that Captain Hook's a good guy trying to stop him because he only ever goes after Peter Pan. He never goes after the Lost Boys. And the story of the children never leave Neverland and never grow up. That's a bit creepy. If you said to a child, you're never going to grow up, you wouldn't think you're going to stay a child forever, would you?
The child was to grow up.
All right, good. And that's now. Anyway, so that made us think about what are the origins of other fairy tales and stories. So I have...
Jess is the one watching on YouTube.
Lovely.
Everybody out there going, no, he was wrong. Look.
Right, don't distract me.
Sorry.
Right, so I have this very old, fairly hefty book from my childhood that I was given in 1985 as a Christmas present. And I remember getting it, and that was my only Christmas present. Poor me. That was it. That's all I had. But it was a Christmas that I actually...
Back in my day.
It was a Christmas that I actually got a present. So I was absolutely made up by it, actually.
I wasn't taking the mick.
That was a bit mean. I remember one Christmas we were so poor, we all had the choice of money or a pair of trousers, and we all chose a pair of trousers, and we all got a pair of cords of various colours, and mine were burgundy, and I loved them greatly. That was one Christmas anyway. So that's a grim little fairy tale for you. Anyway, so this is the favourite tales of Grimm and Anderson. So I've had a look through that and then thought a lot of the stories in there people will have never have heard of. They're really quite random.
Well, I've got an idea, quickly just to distract you, and Chloe had kind of a similar as an idea. She says there's a woman on TikTok doing this sort of stuff.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
You need to be one. If there's stories in there that they're not
right
mainstream.
This afternoon, I said
exactly that
I am going to, because this has now properly fascinated me, and I have a lot of fairy tales, that I am going to do the original fairy tales in a video. So there will be a video series of me reading one fairy tale each video, so Excellent. That people get the real story. So somebody's jumped the gun there and beat me to it, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh no, still do it.
Right, so it wasn't just going by the books and stories that I already have. That then spun me off to quite a bit of internet research. So let's have a look, see how many of these you know, because I've selected 6. I actually had 7, but I've cut it down to 6. So the story of Cinderella. I'd like to say hands up if you know the story. So we all know the story of Cinderella, and we know that she sings out the window, fa la la, and all of the wildlife.
And Penny's going quiet because she's telling a story.
I'm going to smack you in the chops in a minute.
Oh,
it's very Depp and Heard. I'm videoing it, you notice. And we are dressed the same, creepily, like their court case. Anyway, so we all know she sings out the window, all the wildlife comes in, does the housework. I think Chloe's just told me to hit you.
Do it.
Anyway.
To be fair, I'd enjoy it. Any form of contact, good.
Stop it now. Right, so in the true story of Cinderella, published in 1812 by the Brothers Grimm, there was no fairy godmother. There was no fa-la-la of the woodland creatures at all coming in to do a bit of housework for you and help you get dressed. There was no magic wand that gave her a beautiful sparkly gown, and there was no glass slippers. In the original story, she went to her mother's grave, which had a hazel tree growing above it, and said this little rhyme, because clearly in the olden days, everybody spoke in rhyme. Then 2 doves flew out of the tree and dropped on her beautiful glistening gown and slippers of silk and silver. And that's how, there was no godmother, that's how it occurred. And the story was that she was bullied by her stepmother and wicked stepsisters, and said, oh, there's a festival coming, because that's what it says. It was something like a 3-day festival, bit Coachella. And said, really want to go. And she said, no, the only way you can go is if you pick up this bowl of lentils. You've got 2 hours. If you can do it in 2 hours, I'll let you go to the ball. So the wicked stepmom threw this bowl of lentils across the kitchen floor, and she had 2 hours to pick them up. She obviously couldn't do it, so she fa la la, and the 2 doves came and helped her pick up all the lentils, but the stepmother wouldn't let her go, so they were toddled off.
I can see a little bit why Disney perhaps
It's a bit
jazzed
boring.
it up a bit. Yeah.
So anyway, she did go, and it was over so many days, 3 days or whatever. And then she would run back to the tree, take all her kit off, as you do, fling it on the floor for the doves to take back up into the tree, and then go home and pretend she was, pretend that she hadn't gone anywhere. And I did know this bit. The 2 sisters mutilated their feet to fit into her shoes. So one cut off her heel, and he went, "Oh, your shoe fits. Blah, blah, blah. Let's go back to the palace. You're clearly the one for me, even though you look nothing like the lady I remember." And then blood gushes from her foot. And he says, "You're not," takes her home. And then the second sister cuts off her toes. And the same thing. Lots of gore. He says, "You're not for me." And then Cinderella goes, "La, la, la." And the doves bring her dress, and that's it. And that's what happens. In an older story, the slippers were made of squirrel fur. But it's a really vague story. See, this is the thing. The Brothers Grimm picked from folk tales and folk poetry, and then wrote the stories from those. So they were teeny little aspects of stories that they then created a proper story from. So that's Cinderella. It's not as cheery, is it? So the next one, this is a shorter one, Hansel and Gretel, also Brothers Grimm, released in the same collection of fairy tales in 1812, was a man who was remarried, extremely poor, extreme poverty, new wife, weren't really keen on the kids, and basically said, "When we go to work in the forest tomorrow, we'll give the kids a slice of bread each, and when it's time to go and pick them up, we just won't. So we'll leave them to play in the forest, and we'll just come home. And there you go, we'll survive then." And he said, no, I don't want to leave my children. And she said, "Well, you've got a choice. Either you leave your children and only 2 die of starvation, or you bring them home and all 4 of us will die of starvation." Basically bullies him, gets away, they leave the kids. It's the same as the rest of the story with the enchanted cottage and the evil witch.
So there wasn't a house you could eat?
There wasn't a house you could eat.
Oh.
No. Again, that's been prettied up to make it sound like a fun thing. It was just an old woman that lived in the woods. Yeah. Anyway, she was a witch. But essentially, that's a story of cannibalism, because witch wants to eat the boy, cannibalism, and child abuse. Sleep well, children.
That sounds like a basis to a good horror film.
Anyway, so the next one, it's another short one, Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen in 1837. Because, I've never watched The Little Mermaid. I've seen snippets of it.
Under the Sea. I've seen that bit.
Yeah, and I've had you sing that to me a lot for no reason. We haven't even been to the sea.
No.
But it was originally Hans Christian Andersen. In the story, and I reread it today in my little book, she doesn't win the love of the prince. It's much more convoluted. Sorry, spoilers. I should have said that at the beginning. She never wins his love. She loves him, but he loves somebody else and marries somebody else.
That doesn't smell of fish and's got legs.
And that can talk. Because when her voice is stolen, I don't know what happens in the movie, but she literally loses her voice. She can't talk or anything.
In the movie, she opts to get out of the water and have legs, but she can only do it for a certain length of time. So it's like wet Cinderella. just to get back into the water. And there's something like that. I've never watched that one.
Okay, so short version, in the original story, on his wedding night, the prince's...
something like that. So 3 days or so, 3 days to kiss him.
Right,
So
okay. So it is about kissing. That is in there. You have 3 days. You have 3 days. That's because you've just said that. You have to get him to kiss you tonight. And if you don't, then you will die. You will return to the sea, and you won't get your fishtail back. And you will become sea foam. So you will no longer exist. So she breaks in with a knife. She sees these other mermaids who have given up their hair for various things, because she went, oh, I'll give up my tail, not my hair, because I quite like a do. And she stands over him and his new bride like a creepy stalker while they're asleep in their marriage bed, and kisses him on the cheek, but can't bring herself to stab him, and instantly runs back to the sea and turns into sea foam, jumps into the water.
Sounds like a catfish situation.
Right, so, oh, shut up.
So, oh, give me that.
And they go on the boat, and she sees them in her, I don't know how you can see them. She's sea foam now. She has no form at all. She just bubbles. You know that scum that washes up on the sand?
Gets in the side of your mouth. It's the same kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
the sea's version of that.
It's the sea's version of that. Yeah, it's like that. Sea phlegm. And she can see them on the boat looking in the water, and they feel really sorry for her. And then she gets judged at the end, and they say, well, you will be sea foam forever. You cannot live your 300 years as a mermaid, because that's how long they live for, apparently.
That's true.
And then they all feel sorry for her and let her soul leave the sea foam and ascend to heaven. It's a bit of a different version, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
She has to kind of get some...
A bit creepy, though, standing over his marriage bed.
In Disney films, women are defined by the men that they have to try and either kiss or get kissed by. So, yeah, she's trying to do that.
So she'd rather be sea foam than kill him, because she loves him so much. I mean, now she'd just do a little ranty video on TikTok to a funky soundtrack, and it wouldn't be under the sea.
Can you see foam or can't you see foam?
Oh, my God.
Can you see sea foam or not see sea foam?
Do you want me to tell you another one?
Hold on a minute. I just need to get that out of my head. Right, okay, go on. What's the next one?
Right, do you want me to tell you another
I
one?
can get stuck in a loop, like a record with a scratch in it.
Yeah?
Like a record with a scratch in it. Like a record with a scratch in it.
Oh, my God. Did we miss a comment? Go up a bit.
No, we haven't missed any.
Yeah, we have. There. Original story. Oh, no, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Sorry, Jerry, I just see your comment. I just read it.
Sorry, Jerry. I can't put every post on there because when I do,
I know,
Penny tells me off for distracting her with things on the screen.
Just in case. Not on the screen, because I'm looking over there.
Oh, okay.
But as if you cut me off.
We have had Joanne's arrived.
Hi, Joanne.
And Chloe's laughing at us.
Chloe's always laughing at us. Okay,
right,
so.
Who's the last one? Or who's the
next
one?
The next one.
How many more you got?
3.
So you've done 3. Right, okay. Come on, can I take over from you? Can I tell people about the special pineal gland?
No.
Do you want to do one more?
Let me do one. If you let me do them, and then that's a really good one to end on.
Okay.
Because it's a really surprising one that people
okay,
probably won't know.
Let's do that. Let's make out like we planned this in some way.
Okay. Not ignored each other all afternoon, done our own thing, and then come together at the end. Okay. So, I've forgotten where I got to. Rapunzel, another grim story. Their name was properly apt. It really was, because they wrote the story of Rapunzel, which is like the fa-la-la happy ending, even though all of their stories seem to involve a child being kidnapped originally.
There's quite a lot about the book, really.
It does a bit. But
Well,
then
the
what
surname's
happened
Grimm.
was they became quite obsessed with their story of Rapunzel with her long hair in the tower and Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. And one of the brothers did some revisions shortly after it came
I just
out.
realised my chair had sunk.
Right, listen.
I'm listening.
So, the prince was coming to see Rapunzel, who was letting down her hair, but apparently they weren't hugging when he came to visit. They were doing a little bit more than hugging. And Rapunzel got pregnant, and the witch found out and cast her out into the wilderness
Slag.
because she was pregnant with twins. So that,
I know that. Oh,
because she's a witch, obviously. She threw the prince, so he fell out of the tower and was blinded, which is a little bit different.
So it is true then. If you get tossed up, no, I won't say that.
There are young people watching.
I know, I suddenly realised.
Yes, that's horrendous. So, yeah, that's a bit of a
You go
surprise. See, I thought witches were doulas, but apparently not, because she went, oh, you're pregnant, can't be bothered with that nonsense, and got rid of her. But yeah, that's not quite the story. That
Nowadays, you just stuck a camera in there and OnlyFans.
yeah, exactly. It's not like Tangled at all. But the rest of the story is right. Okay, so, and I knew this story, and it's not in this book. So I've clearly read this somewhere else when I was young. So Snow White, another grim tale. There is the poisoned apple. Most of the story follows the same. There are dwarfs. It is potentially linked to a true story about a lady or a duchess and whose father owned a silver mine. And where do the dwarves work? They're miners, right? So it's kind of...
They weren't miners, they were just short.
And that that's because they never came out in the sunshine. They never grew.
Some people have got that.
Oh, was you being inappropriate?
No, I was just saying they are adults, but they look like miners, but they're just short people.
Oh, God.
I'm on fire today.
Anyway, but in the original story, the Wicked Queen first tries to bump off Snow White by suffocating her in her bodice by pulling the laces so tight she can't breathe. Nice. And then while doing her hair, stabs her with a poisoned comb. So that's lovely. But at the end of the story of Snow White, because she's woken by
a man,
a kiss from a prince and blah blah blah.
Who's clearly into some form of necrophilia.
Okay.
Kiss
I'll get to that bit in a minute. But at the end of the story, she is aroused by the prince. And at their wedding...
I don't know that.
Well, she was asleep and he woke her up. That's an arousal.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. So at their wedding, he orders the queen to wear a pair of red hot iron slippers and that she must dance in them till she drops down dead. The end. Sleep well, children.
So she walked in and they went, what are those?
And she went... But interestingly, some of the stories about Snow White that I've looked into, Snow White was actually 7 years old in some of the stories.
True.
In which case, what's the prince come in to give her a kiss for? That's a bit weird.
Well,
That she then has to marry.
yeah, but you could look at modern history. That's within the last 100 years that it's 18 years old.
Oh, no. In
William
other
Shakespeare's Romeo and
in
Juliet
other
were 12.
countries, it's 11 and 12
Yeah,
and stuff.
even
I
in
get
this
that,
country it was
but
Victorian
that's a
age.
bit weird.
Dirty, pervy men.
But there's loads of other versions. One that I read, there was only one dwarf, not 7.
Oh, he was lonely.
In the original story, the dwarfs didn't have names. Names were added later, and it was something like Glinky, Binky, Stinky, Plinky, something else, and Quee. But that wasn't added
That
until
sounds
the
like a load of names that you'd make up
1900s.
on the spot if somebody quizzed you and went, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, last night, yeah. With
Hugh,
my
Pew,
mates.
Barnum McGrew,
Yeah.
Cuthbert, Dibble, and Grub.
Just Chloe's comment.
Right.
Prince who finds a dead stranger and thinks kissing is the best option. Seems legit.
Seems legit. It's not at all weird.
Well, what do you do when you come
I'll
across
tell
a
you
sleeping
one
woman
of
in
the
forest?
stories that I read, which is completely different, and it wasn't on a special. I'm ignoring that. That was disgusting. I'm ignoring that. Was that all the dwarves had to spend the night with her while she was unconscious?
Sorry, what's that?
They took it in turns,
Royals
spending
for
the
a
night.
nice birth. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Bringing
Right.
families together.
So then another story was they all wanted to spend the evening with her while she's unconscious, but instead the youngest dwarf spent an hour with each of the dwarfs so that they didn't touch her while she slept. There's some really bizarre stories out there.
I have genuinely always found, not just necessarily, I'm going to say Disney because they tended to do the fairy tale stories, but I've always found them very strange. I don't like Beauty and the Beast. I could never get my head around
I did originally have stuff about Beauty and the Beast, and I took it out because it's actually very true to the story.
What, that there's a woman out there who has to fall in love with an animal? That's bestiality.
Yes, except it was
weird.
written by Gabriel Bardot de Villeneuve in 1740, one of the versions.
She had an obsession with a bear or something.
And there was an older story.
Yes, Chloe.
That was the Beauty and the Pig, and an even older one that was a bear. It wasn't. It was the Pig King and the Bear King was the previous story, and there was loads of them. But that's why all of them have French names in it: Lumière and Gaston and Belle. Because it was based on that story by Gabrielle Bardot de Villeneuve. But in her story, the beast was a thickie. He was stupid and could barely even hold a conversation. And that's why it was so difficult for her to fall in love with him, and not at all because he looked like a mishmash of various animals.
Oh, yeah, I just thought that was very strange.
Her dad was a bankrupt merchant, not a whimsical inventor. And she had actually, in that story, had 5 sisters, 2 of which were wicked, and 6 brothers, because they didn't have tellies then. Gaston was just added by Disney. And obviously all the pots and pans didn't sing, all the furniture, and that in one version that was later written, the beast actually died. So when she went home and he said, you can go home, I feel sorry for you because you're homesick, but you must be back. And then she didn't come back in time. That she comes back and he's dying on the floor. And she says, oh, I feel so bad because you're dying and you were so lovely and looked after me and I love you. And then he transforms. But in one of the stories, he just dies. That's it. Fa-la-la, the end.
Jess is saying she's up for it. Get to live in a castle, own library, never speak to anyone else.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Jess. for sure.
What a load of rubbish, Jess. You're always on TikTok. You'd be within 20 minutes, you'd be missing the Wi-Fi.
It is true. It is true. So yeah, I did originally do that, Beauty and the Beast, but I've only got one more. So it's up to you. Do you want me to do it and then you do the pineal gland?
Come on, let's have it.
So this is the one that I found the hardest to validate the original story. Okay. Because as with all fairy tales, they originate from folk tales, folk poetry,
Of course they do.
word of mouth things. Until one person writes it, it gets published. That's considered the original story. So the original story was the story of the three bears by an English author called Robert Southey in 1837, which we know as Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Was there some sort of equality thing? They had to crowbar a woman into it.
No, well, it was. The story's kind of true to the original, but it's been tampered with a bit. For example, the name Goldilocks didn't come until 1904, when the book was republished. The girl in the story was called Golden Hair. Not Goldilocks. Goldilocks came in 1904. So this is like that character there, 70 years later. Now, here's the bit I found the most interesting. Golden hair didn't actually mean blonde. It meant silver hair. Who has silver hair?
Which is?
Old ladies.
Oh, old ladies.
Old ladies. So actually, in the original story, the story of the Three Bears, Golden Hair was an old lady who broke in to a house. First she looked through the keyhole, and then she tried the handle, and then she just let herself in.
Yeah. Well, it turned out plain it was dementia. She thought she used to live there.
Absolutely. So she broke in and that she ran away at the end of it. Okay.
Exactly. Looting the bears.
Absolutely. So first of all, she eats all their food, mean, breaks their furniture, no need for that at all, has a little kip, and then runs away at the end. Fa la 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 la, end of the story. So it's already been messed up. It's not a precocious little girl. It's balmy old lady who burgles. So all of that is a bit of a surprise anyway, but there is an older version that they found of that story that was handwritten, obviously never published. It was the same old lady called Golden Hair, and she did break into the cottage, but she didn't run away at the end because she couldn't, because the bears got her. They tried to burn her alive. That didn't work, so they tried to drown her. That didn't work.
That's a film I'd
So
watch.
she was impaled on the church steeple. The end. Sleep well, children.
Right. If there's any film directors out there, that's a film that I would. That's a cracking film.
That's insane,
That's an awesome film.
Because the tales that were told to children were cautionary tales. They were to be a bit interesting to get them involved, but actually, like you always say, oh, there's the moral bit at the end of the film.
Stranger danger.
Yeah.
Look left and right when you cross the road.
There absolutely was, though. To know that you're going to be burnt, drowned, and then impaled at the end if you break into somebody's house, that's going to put you off a bit.
Yeah.
Let's forget the fact that it was bears living in the house, because there are other versions where it isn't bears, or the bears weren't a family and the bears had just taken over this house, as bears do. But how bizarre is that?
That's weird.
I like that one best. So it's a little old lady burgled, and then all of that happens to her at the end.
She's mauled by some bears.
And we're like this, oh, poor little old lady. She was a burglar. She ate their porridge. Anyway, so that's it. That's my little few fairy tales that I wanted to share with you.
And they're all going to agree with me. I hope they're all going to agree with me that Penny should record. I mean, can you get these as 3-minute videos for TikTok? You're not going to get them stories in 3 minutes, are you?
No, but I can do snippets and then put them somewhere else.
Yeah, put them onto the YouTube.
On YouTube.
Put them on YouTube.
On the YouTube.
So right, so that's the Brothers Grimm, the fairy tale side of things. Now we're going to take a slight shift, and we're going over to the spiritual side of things. Actually, let me do
a creepy background.
No, hold on.
Oh, we should have had a fairy tale background.
I haven't got a fairy tale background.
Oh.
Let's go with a slightly creepier background. Okay, right. I don't know if you guys have seen this or whether it's just the algorithms that have come up on my social media, but there's an awful lot of stuff to do with the pineal gland that's come up in my news feeds. And as you guys know, who know me, the second my brain goes like that and reels it in, I have to start digging into this and finding out what's going on. So I've had a look into it.
Have you?
I have.
Excellent. Tell us about it.
Right. I'll start with what I found out, okay? So, through forms of meditation, spiritualists have said that you can help decalcify the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland is dead center of your brain, between there and there and there and there, bang on in the center. If you look at it from a cross section, you know them really thin rocks that have got wavy lines through them, and people hold them up to the light, and it looks like tree rings, but inside a stone.
Okay.
It looks like that. The shape has also been compared to the Eye of Horus shape. This pineal gland, if you decalcify it, has the ability to receive light. So it has light receptors and cones.
But it's right in the middle of your brain. Why would it need that?
The reason for this, right, I've had to break this word down to get it, okay? It's photoneuroendocrine, okay, which is a gland that's reliant on light. So the spiritualist logic is this: because it's a gland that can receive light, so it has a light stimulus, it's part of our evolution, or you could class it as devolution, that it used to be here, or a form of the gland or something connected to the gland was here as a third eye. Now, if you look into this...
Sorry, didn't we see somewhere where they said originally we only had one eye and that was it?
Yeah, that was our main one. And then the other two were a bit like a chameleon. So we got one for the frequencies that we need for spirituality. And then these two were like the earth-bound ones for what we needed to do here.
Right.
But it's not necessarily, not all spiritualists believe that it's an actual physical eye. You kind of hear going blink, blink. Not that sort of logic, but some form of receiving sense. So we've got ears, we've got eyes, taste, smell, touch. So another form of sense was here. And over the years, it's recessed back. And that's been sped up since the introduction of things like fluoride into our water and other, which you can look into. There's loads of other chemicals that cause calcification. By decalcifying that, you can actually stimulate this gland to release antioxidants, melatonin, and our own personal version of DMT, which, for those that weren't disgraceful children, that's a form of hallucinogenic drug.
So we'll see mystical colours and shapes.
So once you can release that, the point is you then can transcend into a light spectrum that this gland is able to see, and B, your body is flooded with enough chemicals that it helps enhance that trip a bit, like when I do shamanic journeys and I've got my shaman tea and I'll have a fire and meditate. And it's all about properly trying to cross boundaries and change perspectives.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so people are meditating, they're getting this, and they're changing their diet, they're changing their lifestyle to decalcify the pineal gland. So it all sounds really good and really
And
spiritual.
they can astral project.
Yep.
Because of it.
Yep. Right, shall we do the proper science?
That's exciting.
It is, right. This is the danger of watching stuff on the internet. Because I've had a look into this properly. Right. The pineal gland. The main purpose of the pineal gland is to regulate melatonin, and it does release antioxidants as far as the brain is concerned. It's a neuro antioxidant protection for the brain areas where it is. As glands go in our body, it does have the highest levels of attraction to calcification. And it has been proven that you can change your diet and calcification will change up and down. Okay. Its main purpose and the reason that I've looked at, and if you want to go and find this, it is on PubMed, which is published medical documents, properly researched science. The reason it has what people have been referring to as light receptors and cones is because it receives what they've called, or medically they call, blue light. That light is still being received from our eyes that we have now, but it stimulates that gland at bedtime. So at night time, when we relax and lie down to go sleep and the world's gone dark, there's less light, our eyes don't receive the light. That gland knows that and starts to release melatonin for us to relax and for us to sleep. Now, the bit I couldn't figure out, and I did search down different bits, melatonin and this DMT that can be released. If you are quite a spiritual person and open to dreams like you do, what do you call them?
Lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. That is part of that gland playing around with your chemistry during the night.
Right, okay.
So how much of that you want to class as spiritual or physiological is entirely up to yourself, but it is doing that job during the night. It is releasing those chemicals, so you are awareness, and if, as I do, if you believe in the other realms of other frequencies, they are there. I just don't necessarily think that the pineal gland is the keyway, doorway to it. Okay. The other reason why these little, or the main reason why this, I won't say myth, this theory comes with it, because as much as I sort of say there is a science bit and there is a spiritual bit, I like to live within the realms of logical, what feels logical to me through studies that have been done.
You should always test a theory anyway.
The first person that found it, that was just my hip I was scratching, then please don't, I was like that, completely self-conscious about scratching my bum on camera. Sorry guys.
It's better than me scratching your bum.
The first doctor or surgeon, whoever it was that found it, called it the seat of the soul.
Yeah.
Because it was the gland dead center of the brain. So he gave it that name, which then gave it the connotation of something more spiritual about it. Then as people have started to look into it more, the fact that it looks like the Eye of Horus, coincidence probably. I mean, the Eye of Horus is quite a flowy shape. So you could put that into a number of different places if you wanted to. What I'm saying is if you want to make it fit, you could make it fit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, from the medical point of view, there has been a number of studies done on the pineal gland with calcification and links to Alzheimer's and other neurological deteriorations of things. The studies that they've currently got on that gland are range from people over the age of 56. So within the medical journals, they actually need 17 to 36-year-olds that when they've died, they can, however they do these medical testings to research what that pineal gland looks like on that person, because there's not enough actual studies of younger people's pineal gland. Does it really, does it happen because of our diet, the calcification, or is it just, it happens over time? There's quite a few little, it could be this, there's loads of different avenues, because as all humans, we've searched all through space and everywhere else. We've not actually researched our own brains. We don't know as much as we think we do about it.
Absolutely not. No.
So this little gland is in there, and it's quite marvelous. I actually quite like it, and I like the aspect of the serious science behind it, because two lots of studies that I read found that the links to Alzheimer's were possibly there, but possibly not. And I kid you not, the percentages were sort of 58 in one direction to 42 in the other. So it literally is that is just...
Well, Alzheimer's is the death of brain cells, which can't be turned around. However...
But that's where this gland, because of the antioxidant side, it's part of keeping the brain healthy with this chemical balance.
Right, because they don't know the reason why Alzheimer's occurs. But the bit that I find interesting in that is anybody with any form of dementia, and Alzheimer's falls under the umbrella of dementia, as they progress or deteriorate, they sleep less, because we sleep because our bodies are stimulated and our brains are stimulated, and they're not taking in any new information, so they don't get tired, which has an interesting link. I can see the link there with the calcification and the melatonin.
So they don't go to sleep.
So they don't go to sleep. So I can see why somebody jumped there.
The other link with this is there's a couple of links which are some based in science and the spiritual logic in this. Fluoride is a massive calcifier of the pineal gland.
In America, it's in all of their water.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And in this country, it's quite prolific as well. So a process of decalcification of the pineal gland is you need to eradicate fluoride out of your diet. Part of the science behind this, humans have used fluoride against other humans to
as
control
a chemical
behavior,
weapon. Yeah,
because it nulls the freedom of thought, because it doesn't just affect the pineal gland, but that's one of the major things it does affect, is that there is some other things as well.
Dentists are taking over the world.
Well, actually, it was part of a dental research study that found the
Negative aspects of it.
Yeah, one of these kind of potentials is or it isn't.
Wow, you've done proper teachy stuff this evening.
Yeah, so it's one of those ones where...
What do I believe?
I personally think that I'm going with there is definitely something in column A and there is definitely something in column B. And at some point, and this links to the fact that I don't believe humans are evolving at all. Our species has not evolved. And I mean, generally a species won't see its own evolution anyway, I suppose. But our technology around us has evolved, but we are not evolving. So for somebody to sort of say, well, we used to have something here, we would see that in skulls or something.
We've created so much stuff that we don't need to evolve anymore, because we've created technology to do all of that stuff for us now.
Yeah.
So we haven't got got to learn new skills.
No, humans we've always had this logic of the third eye, this spiritual eye that links, and it's always linked to our brain, because that's where we
vast majority of religions, if you look back at old scripts, there is a lot about the third eye.
Yeah, of course there is. But for them to then say, but it's an eye that's receded back, it's like, no, we'd have found a skull by now with a freaking hole or something.
Well, what if it just needs to be a pinhole?
There'd be something. We would see there would be a physical link between that to there. It's like if my eye devolved and back, there's still going to be an element of the socket's going to be there, where it sat is there, the optic nerve is still there. There's going to be...
Sharp being logical.
You can't just go from having three eyes one day to none the next. There's got to be an evolutionary path, which is why I don't believe we evolved from monkeys, because or apes, whatever you class them as, because they're still bloody here. Do you know what I mean? We're just another version of them. We're not. That's my only theory. Anyway. I'm not Darwin.
Are you a creationist?
So yeah. So that's my research into the pineal gland. I'd be open to any debates. I don't think firmly that there's enough information in one side or enough information in the other. But from my own personal journey, I mean, I'm not sure about the fluoride thing, but I will look into that. But from the point of my meditations, there's quite a bit of research out there, or not research, resource out there for people who do meditations that are geared up for this logic, is to open that section of your pineal gland, start messing around with the chemicals, and actually take shamanic journeys and transcending and stuff. So that's obviously where I'm going to go, because I just find that amazing. It's a great kind of disappear off my own head. Whether it's really happening or not is irrelevant.
Natural LSD.
Yeah. So that's. I hope you guys found that interesting. It's a bit balanced. I mean, as you know, I like to weigh everything up. You know, science is there; we should use it. But I also, you know, I'm not.
As a Reiki master, though, the consideration of the chakras and your third eye chakra being one of those, you have to lean towards that too.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, definitely. So why I'm saying that when they talk in there about the pineal gland and the DMT and the melatonin and those sorts of things, it's not just that. I mean, this is also. I ended up having to go and look for something else as well, because it linked to other glands. It's not just a gland on its own that does its own job. It's part of us. So it's not, when we're looking at this, it's like, oh, it's just this little gland used to be something amazing. No, it's just a gland, part of a collective. So
not that I agree with experimenting on people, but what if we was to take that bit out?
You'd probably struggle to sleep. Your brain function would stop quite, not abruptly, but it's the main reason of the antioxidant is protecting the brain. It's like it keeps the brain healthy. But I do firmly believe.
It's the gut of the brain.
This is the bit I do believe. Through human repression over years and years and years, being ruled by over-aggressive, underachieving, rich, dominant bastards, has put most human beings into a subservient routine of economic slavery, which has shrunk that independent part of our brain down, which ascended us as human beings to now being the economic slaves that we frickin' are, because we can't spiritually ascend. And we're missing that part of our lives.
And breathe.
I love ADHD in my brain. It's hilarious.
And you're not allowed to talk to our Becky anymore.
But anyway, so yeah, that's my journey. And I love a good rabbit hole. So if anybody's out there and you want to send me something to dig into, I'll dig into it and find out whether I think it's legit or a lot of stuff. I mean, I think I'm as spiritual and as honestly natural as I can get as far as nature is concerned. But when people are just talking shite, I can't help myself. It's like, no, that serves your purpose. That's part of your manifestation. That's great. But you can't try and convince other people that your story's true.
Keep questioning.
Do you know what I mean? Always question. And it's whatever somebody else will say, but I kind of relate to it in a different way. So you kind of make it your own then.
Okay.
But that's nothing. The pineal gland rabbit hole is nothing compared to what I'm about to say to you now. Thank you to everybody who stayed till now, because this is my final thought before we wrap up.
Okay.
The other day, I had this horrible thought about flies and maggots. Okay? Maggots only eat dead flesh, don't they?
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah.
Maggots only eat dead flesh. What if they change their mind? There's enough flies, they're everywhere. There's more of them than there is of anything else on the planet.
Oh my God, a fly revolution.
If maggots all of a sudden went, oh, that fresh bit of meat tastes good, that's it, we're done. They're not now eating decaying dead meat. That's it, that's us. And that would be the flies. The flies change their mind, we're done.
Have we got to be nice to flies now?
So. But you see, I went round and round thinking, no, because we do. No,
but they vomit on our food.
But yeah, I'm thinking, so where would they put these maggots? Could literally be anywhere, everywhere. It would be like a pandemic of maggots.
It was a normal coffee he had, I promise. It was normal coffee.
So yeah, that was I'm half tempted to write some sort of little short story down and send it to Ridley Scott or something. What do you reckon to this? Because it wouldn't even have to be a massive fly. It
It's
doesn't
a
have to be
shame,
oversized. or
shame the
massive.
Brothers Grimm aren't still about, because they'd have done a cracker of a story.
Yeah, it is literally, if maggots change their mind, we're done. So yeah, that
Be
was my
nice
thought. Anyway,
to
right.
nature, a cautionary tale.
I hope you've enjoyed the show. We
Yeah.
try and bring something different every week if we can, or at least different to your normal world. This is my normal. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. If there's ever a topic you want us to cover or look into or research,
Yeah, drop us a
or if it's
message.
something you want us to, there's a sharing of information, I'd like to know more about such and such, then we'll make that the topic of a talk. So other than that,
Thank you for listening.
thanks very much, guys. Oh, let me get my screens. Which way? Oh, where is it?
And next week, next Sunday is, I believe, Beltane.
Oh yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Another lovely celebration.
Where's me thingy bobs?
So we'll probably talk a bit about Beltane.
Yes. So yeah, same time next week. We'll see you 8 o'clock next Sunday.